Hello, Ed Hansen, Bloomfield Cemetery, doing another video, and it's an interesting experience to do this with the technology set up, tripod, microphone, and an adapter hooked on the camera that can pick up the microphone sound. Sometimes I leave that off. Sometimes I forget to turn this on. So it can be humorous at times and frustrating too, just when I think I nailed it. No, 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 no. I was going to talk today about a map and one of the families that are on this map. So this here is what I refer to as an in-town map. See if I can capture this. So this map is from the mid 1880s for Bloomfield, and it was utilized up to mid 30s. So essentially covers 5 decades of property ownership. The names in bold were printed with the original map. And then throughout time, as ownership would change, the names would often get crossed out and the new owners added in. Now, some parts of town, where there was just like a lot of small properties and buildings, you could see how crowded that gets. But it is so very helpful. And one interesting component of this map here is they're talking about Merchant Street right here. It's it's not erased, it's like faded. The text is faded. So also on here, this map is huge. It's hard to hold. You see Merchant Street right here is crossed out. So Merchant and Broderick. Broderick's clear. Merchant is crossed out there. And down here is remarks handwritten that Merchant Street was closed off and this section of land was sold. Obadiah Hogue wrote up a deed for that property and it was sold. So, we've always known Merchant Street to be open and through street. So at the time, there were other through streets that we've never experienced, and that would include Lincoln. Lincoln went all the way down to the Valley Ford Road. Now they refer to it as Bloomfield and Petaluma Road. So Lincoln went all the way down the hill to the main road, and so did let's see, Washington would also go through at one time, but I believe this was always one of the bridges that during the flood would wash out. So some articles would always talk about bridges in Bloomfield would elevate and float away. So the 1886 panoramic shot shows what's now Cockrell Street, formerly Washington Street, went all the way to Valley Ford Road. You can see the road going in front of Curry's house. So Patrick Curry lived where the park field is. The Currys had the lowest elevation of property in town. The part that always floods in that corner section between the creek and Valley Ford Road and the park field. That section in there that's just extremely low and just floods all the time. So back to Merchant Street, getting sold off, deeded, and then it was donated back. So and of course it's been open all of my life as a through road. So there's just so much information that can be learned on these maps, but it was just amazing that once I was able to actually read this handwritten note about the details of it, I just thought that was fascinating. Such an interesting deal. So anyway, back to families. A particular family on this one here is George Washington Doane. The Doane family lived on Mill Street, and their property was located between Church and Lincoln on Mill Street. So, and their property uh, went up pretty much a kind of against the hillside for property that we knew Zimmerman's had, and today it would be the farm, marijuana farm, cannabis farm, that guy. So G.W. Doane owned a property in Russian River Township. In 1875, he sold his Rancho Sotoyomi. I've tried to pronounce that rancho's name, and if I fumble it every time. 160 acres up in Russian River Township. Sold it in 1875, moved to Bloomfield, and him and his wife and father-in-law, a fellow by the name of Harlow Stoddard. He was elderly at the time. He would pass away in 1881, and George Doane purchased a plot up at the cemetery from Henry Hall for $1. So I don't know why $1 when Henry Hall was paying $5 for all the rest of them. When Horace Lamb, when his family donated the front half of the cemetery, Henry Hall purchased almost all of the new available plots, and then he would sell them off over time. So the Doane family purchased their plot just north of the Robinson Crypt. So that mausoleum, the only one we got. And they placed the father, and they installed a memorial stone, rather grand memorial stone. It's a polished, dark granite base sitting on a big concrete base, and then it had a tall spire with it, with the name Doane on it. It appears that in 1906, the tall spire fell over and has excuse me, has never been put back up. The Doanes would move from Bloomfield in 1893. There was a large get together and celebration that they had at the Oddfellows Hall, celebrating their friendship and everything as they were getting ready to leave to Ashland, Oregon. So the Doanes moved to Ashland, Oregon, and they would pass away and be buried in Ashland. So, the father was Harlow Stoddard was the only one who was placed in the Doane memorial plot. That plot could have easily accommodated 12. So the circumstances about them leaving, get a drink of water here. The circumstances about them leaving and never returning, then the '06 quake happening, the spire falling, there was nobody left here to afford the reinstallation of the spire. When it fell, it didn't break. It's been laying there ever since. So Dale and I have been playing in that cemetery all our life. From when we were kids, we would just spend so much time up there. We don't recall that spire ever being anywhere other than where it's at currently. So it's our intent to get some heavy equipment up there. Fortunately, Dale has access. As you know, he works at Crane Yard up in Windsor. They have access to a lot of equipment there. And the family who owns it is very aware of what we do out in Bloomfield. So when the big tree came down and we needed a crane up there and some support trucks, they give us the family discount, and we'll take advantage of that again to get some equipment up there, lift the base, because with the quake and settling, the base has rocked back. So there's no way that any spire is going to stay on there with the angle that it's at, and we want it to be right anyway. So we have to uh, raise the base, disassemble the two-part base, raise it, reallocate a lot of the base rock that's underneath there, and then set things back, some good epoxy, etc. Because when that spire, is up and it's 15 feet tall, we want to be sure that it's good, safe, and will be there for a long time. Obviously, if there's another '06 style quake, who knows? I'm sure there'll be a lot of other things that we got to deal with in addition to this one. But uh, so that's our intent. And anyway, that's how a map like this can inspire a conversation like this about the history of particular people, and how long they were, what got them to Bloomfield, what they did when they were Bloomfield, and then when they left Bloomfield, and what remains in terms of their family and their association with the cemetery. So, that's what I got. But getting this map, fortunately, I didn't get arrested, but she. It was interesting because it's up at the county and up there at the county, and I did what I had to do in order to get some good quality shots of it, and it worked out okay in the end. But the folks up at the county office, I know that they see a lot of that stuff as they're the protectors of it. So regardless of what somebody wants, we're asking a favor of them and their treasures rather than them holding our treasures that we can access whenever we want. So anyway, that's today's video. Thanks for watching.